The day she rang my doorbell for the first time, it was raining. Not the romantic kind of rain you see in movies. It was gray and cold, the sort of rain that soaks into your bones and makes everything feel heavier. I had just finished a long week working from home, Excel sheets, endless Zoom meetings, half-empty coffee mugs cluttering the counter. That was the day she arrived with a shy smile and a duffel bag of cleaning supplies. "Hi," she said, brushing wet hair from her face. "You called for cleaning service?" I nodded, unsure what I expected. Probably someone older. But she was young, early 20s, if that, and had that familiar Eastern European accent that always sounds like poetry filtered through steel. "Come in," I said. Her name was Lilia. She told me she was a student on a visa from Moldova. Studying part-time, working as a housekeeper to cover tuition. She was polite. Soft-spoken. Kept her eyes down when she talked. That first day, she barely spoke. She moved like a whisper through the house, folding laundry, wiping down surfaces, humming something under her breath that sounded sad. I watched her from the hallway once, thinking how strange it was to have another human in my space after months of being alone. I wasn't dating anyone. Hadn't in a long while. My last relationship ended before the pandemic and left more ash than fire behind. Since then, it was just me and the silence of my two-bedroom house in the suburbs. Lilia came twice a week. Over time, her silence softened. She started making little jokes. Asking questions. I'd find the books on my shelf rearranged, a sticky note left on the front cover with something scribbled in blue ink: "This one is boring. Too many sad endings." You read slow, smiley face. She started wearing different clothes, too. At first, it was jeans and sweatshirts. Then one morning she arrived in a loose cardigan, nothing underneath except a tank top that dipped lower than it should have. I noticed, of course. I'm not blind. But I told myself it was just fashion. She'd lean close when she asked where to put things. Her perfume smelled like honey and green apples. Once, as she bent to scrub a tile near the sink, the strap of her shirt slipped, just enough to show more than she probably intended. Except, I don't think it was accidental. And I didn't stop her. I should have. I should have been smarter. I was older. Wiser. Supposedly. But you spend enough time alone, and when someone looks at you the way she did, like you're the only thing in the room that matters, you start believing it. I never touched her. Not at first. Not until that afternoon in May. She was in my bedroom, changing the sheets. I was in the doorway, pretending to check emails. She looked over her shoulder, smiled, then asked if I thought she was pretty. I remember blinking. What? She walked over, stood so close I could smell the citrus on her breath. "Do you think I'm pretty?" she asked again, tilting her head. Her hand brushed mine. She didn't pull away. The moment stretched, too long, too dangerous, and I did something I'll regret for the rest of my life. I kissed her. She kissed me back. It happened fast. Clothes on the floor, breathless apologies between gasps. She was the one who locked the door. She was the one who whispered, finally, like she'd been waiting for this. It happened once. Then again, the next week. And the one after that. I didn't tell anyone. Of course not. She was an employee. Younger. Vulnerable in ways I didn't fully understand. But she wasn't acting vulnerable. She was bold. Teasing. She'd send selfies while cleaning, biting her lip or sticking out her tongue. Sometimes she'd call late at night just to whisper, "I miss your bed." I should have known it wouldn't last. Still, I didn't expect what came next. It was a Wednesday morning when the doorbell rang again. I thought it was her. It wasn't. It was the police. 2 officers. Serious faces. One of them held a folder. The other asked if I was who I was. I nodded, heart suddenly sprinting. We need to ask you a few questions, the taller one said. They stepped inside. Looked around. Said a report had been filed. That a young woman had accused me of sexual assault. My legs went numb. I couldn't breathe. They didn't handcuff me. Not yet. But they didn't have to. The air in the room was thick enough to strangle. She said you forced yourself on her during her shift, one of them said, flipping through notes. She claimed she tried to leave but you blocked the door. That you coerced her. My ears rang. No, I whispered. No, that's not what happened. They looked at each other. She says otherwise. My hands were shaking. I looked at the hallway, the door, the place where we stood that day in May. Every corner of my home felt like it was turning against me. She walked out of my house with lipstick on and a smile, I said. The taller officer frowned. Excuse me. She wasn't crying. She wasn't scared. She kissed me goodbye. I have a camera. My neighbor's doorbell cam. She waved at it. They paused. Where is this footage? The other asked. I didn't know if it had captured everything. I prayed it had. Because in that moment, my life, the safe, quiet, predictable life I had built, was beginning to collapse. And I wasn't sure anyone would believe me. The precinct smelled like disinfectant and old paper. They didn't book me. Not yet. But they brought me in. Asked if I wanted a lawyer. I said yes. My voice cracked when I said it. I wasn't thinking clearly. My heart was somewhere in my throat, beating like it was trying to escape. I couldn't stop seeing her face, Lilia, smiling as she tied her hair up, slipping her shoes on like nothing had happened. And now she was saying I assaulted her. She came back after that day. Again and again. Left notes on my fridge. Took selfies in my bed. Just last weekend, she texted me, can't wait for Wednesday. I miss you. I had proof. I knew I had proof. But the officers didn't care about texts yet. They wanted my version. She wasn't scared, I told them. She wasn't hurt. She was affectionate. She was the one who started it. They exchanged a glance. That look. The one that says, sure, buddy. They all say that. My lawyer arrived 40 minutes later. Her name was Andrea Hall, late 30s, sharp eyes, not much for small talk. After introductions, she leaned in close. Tell me everything, she said. Don't sugarcoat. Don't leave anything out. So I did. I told her how it started. The flirting. The clothes. The looks. The day in May. How she kept coming back. How I never once forced anything. When I finished, she sighed and sat back. Okay, she said. Here's the thing, it doesn't matter what you think happened. It matters what you can prove. That's when I remembered the camera. My neighbor across the street, Mr. Patel, had one of those smart doorbells with cloud storage. He told me once it recorded everything, even audio if you were close enough. She always left through the front, I said quickly. Every time. She waved at his camera once. Andrea raised her eyebrows. That could help. We need access. I gave her Patel's info. She said she'd reach out while I was released, pending investigation. Don't contact her, Andrea warned as we walked out. Don't text, call, email, nothing. Even if it's to ask, why, don't. It can be used against you. Outside, the air felt different. Thinner. Too bright. I drove home with shaking hands. The house didn't feel like mine anymore. Her scent still lingered in the hallway. Her last coffee cup was on the counter. Her folded cloth still sat on the edge of my couch. Everything looked exactly the same, but none of it felt real. I opened my phone. 17 messages from friends. 3 missed calls from work. 1 email from HR, we've been informed of a serious legal matter. You are suspended with pay pending further notice. My stomach turned. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my bed, reading every single message Lilia ever sent me. Flirty. Playful. Occasionally inappropriate. I scrolled back weeks, months. She called me my favorite man. Sent voice notes. Pictures of her with my dog. A video of her spinning in my hoodie, giggling. I had evidence. I had to believe that meant something. The next morning, Andrea called. I spoke to Patel, she said. He sent me the cloud footage from last week, the day she says the incident occurred. And? I asked, holding my breath. She's seen leaving your house 2 hours later, walking casually. Laughing on her phone. Lipstick perfectly intact. 0 signs of distress. I felt the first flicker of hope in days. She didn't go straight to the police either, Andrea added. Guess where she went? Where? A Sephora. She shopped for 25 minutes. We have the timestamp and receipt. My jaw clenched. So she filed after that? Exactly 3 hours later. And the timeline doesn't match what she claimed in the report. I sat down, the phone pressed to my ear like a lifeline. Does this mean? It means we might have enough to dismantle her statement, Andrea said. But it's not over. She's sticking to her story. Claims she was in shock. That she was pretending to be okay out of fear. I stared at the floor, my eyes blurry. But I didn't hurt her, I whispered. I cared about her. I trusted her. Andrea's voice softened for the first time. I know. But she's not playing fair. And the system? It doesn't reward honesty. It rewards strategy. I nodded slowly. I want to fight. Good, she said. Then let's begin. That afternoon, we filed a request for her message history, texts, DMs, photos. I handed over everything I had. But even as the case began to crack, something darker started gnawing at me. Why did she do it? What did she want? Revenge? Money? Or was I just some project to her? A stupid, lonely man playing house with a girl who knew exactly how to pull every string in him. I didn't know yet. But I was going to find out. I stopped opening the blinds. Daylight felt invasive, like it was watching me. Judging me. The house was too quiet now. Every sound felt louder, clock ticks, refrigerator hum, the creak of floorboards I'd never noticed before. I couldn't watch TV. I couldn't read. All I could do was scroll, reread, remember. I memorized the messages Lilia had sent. Every, can't wait to see you, every, you make me feel safe. They sounded different now. Like dialogue in a horror film, sweet on the surface, sinister when you knew what came next. Andrea was building the case. She'd submitted the doorbell footage to the police. We were pushing hard on her timeline, the laughter, the shopping trip, the lipstick, the receipts. But Lilia wasn't budging. She told detectives she was in shock. That I groomed her. That she was scared to leave. That her smile was a survival response. She even said I'd threatened her, told her not to tell anyone or she'd lose her visa. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at that sentence in the police report. He told me I'd be deported if I said anything. I never said that. I never even hinted at it. But how do you prove a word wasn't said? She was weaponizing silence now. Making the truth feel like a lie simply because it lacked drama. And courts. They like stories with edges. Mine was too quiet. Until I remembered something. She'd sent a voice note. The night before the incident. She was lying in bed, whispering into her phone. I wish I could just stay there. Your bed smells like safety. You make me feel like a real woman. I never want this to end. It was still on my phone. I emailed it to Andrea. 2 hours later, she called. Do not release this on your own, she said. But yes, this is big. It directly contradicts the claim that she felt trapped and used. She's expressing desire, not fear. She sounded hopeful. But then she added something that froze my blood. There's another problem. What? She's got a legal aid attorney now. The kind who smells civil lawsuits from a mile away. I leaned back in my chair, the ceiling spinning. She's coming after money. Andrea didn't answer. She didn't have to. Lilia had filed a civil claim the same day she gave her second police statement. Emotional distress. Trauma. Violation. She was suing me for $300,000. I laughed when I read it. A bitter, gasping laugh that felt like choking. She wanted me ruined. Not just accused. Not just publicly shamed. But emptied out, financially, emotionally, everything. She never loved me, I said aloud, to no one. She never even liked me. She studied me like a spider studies a fly. All that smiling. All that eye contact. The touches. The whispered jokes. The slow way she folded my shirts, humming to herself. It was a performance. Or maybe worse, maybe it was all real until she realized she could flip the script. Maybe the idea came later. Maybe someone told her. You know you can sue him, right? Maybe the plan wasn't born in my house. Maybe it was born in someone else's office, or bedroom, or text thread. But I was the one who let her in. The next morning, I took down every photo that reminded me of her. Her fingerprints were everywhere, literally and figuratively. I bleached my kitchen twice. I donated the sheets she used. I unplugged the scented candle she left by the bed. But nothing cleaned the shame. My brother called that evening. First time in weeks. You okay? He asked softly. I lied. Yeah. It's under control. He didn't press. We're not the kind of family that spills emotion. But before he hung up, he added. Just, don't do anything stupid, man. I wanted to say it's already too late for that. Instead, I thanked him and stared at my blank TV for another hour. That night, something strange happened. I received an anonymous email. No subject. No name. Just a line of text and a link. You should know who you're dealing with. I clicked. A video began to load. The footage was grainy. Security cam angle. A hallway. A door opening. Lilia. Leaving a different apartment. Wearing the same smile. Same lipstick. Same pretend innocence. She kissed a man goodbye, then turned toward the camera, and winked. I paused the video. Heart hammering. Who was the man? Was this a pattern? I didn't know where the footage came from. Or who sent it. But suddenly, I wasn't the only one. Suddenly, I wasn't alone. I didn't sleep that night. The image of her wink burned behind my eyes. That wasn't just a casual smile. It was rehearsed. Precise. Cold. It was the kind of look someone gives when they know they've won. I rewatched the video. Again. And again. Different hallway. Different man. Same exit strategy. I zoomed in. Couldn't make out the man's face clearly, just a blur of shoulders, a dress shirt, a hand waving goodbye like a fool. Like me. Whoever had sent the clip hadn't left any other trace. No IP. No reply to. Just that one sentence. You should know who you're dealing with. Andrea's words echoed in my mind. It doesn't matter what's real. It matters what you can prove. So I forwarded the video to her. She called 30 minutes later. Where the hell did this come from? She asked, her voice unusually tight. Anonymous. Last night. You recognize the man? No. You're absolutely sure this is her? She winked at the camera. Andrea exhaled slowly. If this is what I think it is, she said, we may be looking at a pattern of behavior. Which means she's done this before. And if she's done it before, there might be a record. Exactly. That morning, she filed a motion for discovery. Background. Prior accusations. Civil suits. Restraining orders. Anything. While she chased paper trails, I became obsessed with pixels. I took screenshots of the hallway. The apartment number. The brand of the welcome mat. A sticker on the wall that said, no soliciting. I joined forums. Reddit. Quora. Anything with users who'd seen enough apartments to maybe recognize the layout. 12 hours later, someone replied. That looks like the Lexington in Glendale. East Tower. Floor 5 or 6. I froze. I knew Glendale. 20 minutes from me. Next thing I knew, I was driving. I don't know what I was expecting. Maybe to recognize the man. Maybe to see her. Maybe to convince myself it wasn't real, that it had been doctored. But when I parked outside the Lexington and walked through the lobby, the floor mat was the same. The hallway smelled the same. Even the flickering light above 5B matched the one in the video. This was the place. Whoever she conned here, he existed. And if he existed, he might still be living with the damage. Or worse. Back in my car, I stared at the building like it owed me answers. That night, I got another email. This time, it wasn't anonymous. It was from someone named James H. Subject line, you're not the only one. The body of the message was short. If she did to you what she did to me, you need to call me. Now. Attached was a phone number. My hands were shaking. I waited 2 minutes. Then I called. A man answered. Quiet voice. Worn out tone. Maybe mid-30s. Sounded like someone who hadn't laughed in a long time. Is this James? Yeah. Who's this? You sent the email. There was a pause. She did it to you too, he asked. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for months. Her name wasn't Lilia when I met her. It was Katia. I felt the world tilt. She told me she was from Belarus. Student visa. Working part-time. Sound familiar? My mouth went dry. She worked for me for 3 months, James continued. Flirted. Teased. Then made her move. I was single. I didn't think twice. Then what? I whispered. She stayed the night. Left smiling. 2 days later, I got a visit from Glendale PD. He paused. She said I drugged her. Assaulted her in my kitchen. My stomach turned. She sued me. Settled for $75,000. No criminal charges stuck. But my company put me on leave. My reputation, gone. My parents still won't look at me the same. I sat in silence, every bone in my body vibrating. She vanished after that, James said. Changed numbers. Deleted socials. But I never forgot her face. Why are you telling me now? I asked, my voice barely a rasp. Because I saw her picture last week, he said. My friend works in legal. She saw the civil suit filed against you. The name was different, but the face, same girl. Same eyes. He paused. I'm not letting her destroy another life. Neither was I. Andrea was stunned when I told her. If we can prove this, if we can show pattern, she loses all credibility. Maybe even gets charged for filing false reports. I nodded. My jaw was tight enough to ache. She doesn't get to vanish this time. Andrea looked at me carefully. You sure you're ready for this? I met her eyes. No, I said. But I'm doing it anyway. Depositions are colder than courtrooms. No judge. No gavel. Just beige walls, lukewarm coffee, and legal pads that fill with pain in real time. It was a Thursday. Rain again. Like the sky was remembering. Andrea and I sat at one end of the long glass table. Across from us, Lilia and her attorney. Except this wasn't the girl I remembered. No shy smile. No soft glances. No perfume that smelled like spring and sugar. She was dressed in beige slacks, hair tied tight, face pale and unsmiling. A version of innocence built for courtrooms, not kitchens. She didn't look at me once. The stenographer clicked on her recorder. Please state your name for the record, the lawyer said. Lilia Kazaranova, she replied, voice even. Almost bored. The first 20 minutes were procedural. Names. Dates. Her version of the timeline. She spoke in clipped sentences, as though she'd rehearsed them 100 times. Maybe she had. Then it was Andrea's turn. Miss Kazaranova, she said calmly, can you describe your emotional state upon leaving my client's residence the day of the alleged incident? I was scared. You were scared. Yes. And yet, you didn't call 911. I was in shock. Andrea nodded like she expected it. Did you go straight to the police? No. Where did you go? She hesitated. To the mall. What did you do there? I don't remember. Andrea tapped her pen on the desk, gently, rhythmically. Did you purchase anything? I don't recall. Andrea opened a folder and pulled out a printed receipt. This is a Sephora receipt timestamped an hour and 40 minutes after you left Mr. Lang's home. It includes 2 lipsticks, 1 highlighter, and a travel-sized perfume. She slid the paper across the table. Lilia didn't touch it. Her lawyer cleared his throat. We object to the relevance. Withdrawn, Andrea said smoothly. Let's move on. I watched Lilia's eyes. For the first time, they flickered. Just a twitch. Just enough. Andrea took a slow breath. Miss Kazaranova, she said, her voice soft now, did you ever send Mr. Lang voice messages? No. 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 Andrea opened her laptop. Clicked once. A speaker hummed. Then came Lilia's voice, warm, intimate, unmistakable. I wish I could just stay there. Your bed smells like safety. You make me feel like a real woman. I never want this to end. Silence fell like a dropped stone. Lilia's face went blank. Andrea let the silence stretch. Can you explain this? She finally asked. I don't remember sending that, Lilia said, too fast. It must be fake. Andrea didn't react. She simply reached into her file and pulled out a signed digital metadata report from the forensic tech. This was pulled directly from Mr. Lang's device. Timestamped, geolocated, and untouched. It is authentic. Lilia blinked. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. Andrea leaned forward. Miss Kazaranova, did you also go by the name Katya Antonov? Lilia flinched. No, she whispered. Andrea pulled out another photo, grainy security cam still from the Glendale footage. Lilia, leaving the apartment, lipstick flawless, turning back to wink at the camera. Do you deny this is you? Her lawyer sat up straighter. We're going to pause this depo. Please answer the question, Andrea said firmly. Lilia opened her mouth. Closed it. Her eyes darted, just for a second, to me. And in that second, I saw something break. Not fear. Not guilt. Contempt. Like I was the one interrupting her story. We're ending this deposition, her lawyer snapped, collecting his papers. This has become hostile and inappropriate. You're welcome to do that, Andrea said, voice like silk, but know this, our next filing will include witness testimony from Mr. James Harlow, civil case records from 2020, and potentially a formal motion to open criminal fraud investigation based on pattern behavior. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Lilia stood quickly, hands shaking now. Her attorney placed a hand on her arm. She jerked away. They left without another word. The door clicked shut behind them. Andrea leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. She's rattled, she said. I stared at the empty seat across from me. She should be. Andrea turned to me. You just cracked the first layer of her mask. I didn't say anything. Because deep down, I already knew. Masks don't fall off all at once. They peel. And underneath, you find the real face. The one no one's ready to see. It didn't take long for her to retaliate. 2 days after the deposition, I got the first message. Not from Lilia. From my boss. Subject line, immediate inquiry, HR confidential. The body was short, sterile, and devastating. Due to serious allegations of sexual misconduct pending legal resolution, and in accordance with company policy, your position has been suspended indefinitely without pay. I reread the lines so many times the words blurred. I didn't even know how they'd found out. The civil case wasn't public. Unless she made it public. An hour later, I got my answer. A burner account had posted on Facebook. A long, anonymous post. If you work in corporate tech, beware of predators hiding in plain sight. I was hired to clean his home. He manipulated me, used me, threatened me. He thinks silence equals safety. It doesn't anymore. No names. But just enough details, just enough timeline, that anyone who knew me could piece it together. Andrea called before I could even finish reading. She's going scorched earth. She's posting anonymously now. She's poisoning the court of public opinion. And in civil court, perception is half the verdict. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Co-workers. Old friends. Even my ex. Most messages were vague. Some not at all. Is this about you? Tell me this isn't true. Jesus, man. What the hell happened? I stared at the screen like it had personally betrayed me. She wants to break me, I said, barely audible. Andrea didn't argue. That night, James called again. You okay? He asked. I laughed. Define okay. He was quiet for a while. She did this to me too. When my HR department caught wind of the case, they quietly phased me out. I went from promotions to projects no one wanted. By the time I was cleared, my reputation was already ash. I didn't respond. There was nothing to say. I have something, James added. Something she doesn't know I saved. What? She sent me a photo once. After everything. A picture of herself. In my t-shirt. With my dog. She was smiling like nothing ever happened. I still have the metadata. My pulse quickened. If the date matches her statement. It proves she was still seeing me after claiming she was assaulted. Yeah. James sent the photo that night. I forwarded it to Andrea. The next day, she called, breathless. This might be the nail. But she sounded uncertain. What's wrong? She's flipped her strategy. How? She's filed an addendum to the lawsuit. Claims she's not just a victim, she's a survivor of systemic abuse. She's saying this case is about power. A pattern of male coercion. Andrea sighed. She's going to the media. It hit me like a fist. She wants to go viral. She wants to martyr herself. And suddenly I saw the full arc, the whisper campaign, the anonymous post, the victim optics, the photo op she'd probably already planned. This wasn't just a lawsuit. It was theater. I wasn't the villain. I was the villain she needed. She's building a brand off this, I said, the realization hollowing me out. She's weaponizing sympathy. Andrea nodded slowly. She doesn't want to win the case. She wants to win the audience. And in the age of clicks, applause was currency. The next day, I got served again. Another complaint. Not for money this time. For a restraining order. She claimed I was harassing her through third parties. That I intimidated her during the deposition. That my lawyer's tone made her feel unsafe. She wanted me gagged. Legally prohibited from speaking about the case at all. I sat in Andrea's office, reading the complaint while the walls seemed to press inward. She's not afraid of court, I whispered. No, Andrea said. She's afraid of exposure. And suddenly I understood what had changed. She'd felt the walls shift in the deposition. The mask had slipped. She was spiraling now, not because she was losing, but because for the first time, she wasn't in control. Control. That's what this was always about. Not sex. Not money. Not even revenge. It was about the thrill of rewiring reality. About bending the narrative until no one remembered what was true. And I was a variable she hadn't fully cracked. That night, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, staring at a face I barely recognized. I looked older. Angrier. And yet, I felt something new beneath the exhaustion. Not hope. Not yet. But resolve. She wanted a stage. Fine. She was about to learn what it felt like when the script writes back. Her interview dropped on a Tuesday. It wasn't hard to find. It was everywhere. Headline: He silenced me with kindness, until it turned into control. There she was. Lilia. On camera, in soft focus. A sweater slightly too large, a mug of tea in both hands, her voice trembling just enough to feel real. The journalist leaned in sympathetically. And Lilia told the world her story. She talked about power imbalance. About fear. About the older man, who groomed her under the guise of kindness. About how he violated her trust while making her believe it was affection. She never named me. She didn't have to. They blurred my face in one stock photo, but it was mine. My old living room. My couch. Everything carefully curated for the audience's hunger. He silenced me with kindness. I turned off the screen and stared into the dark. Andrea called 20 minutes later. I'm filing for defamation. It won't matter, I said. People believe her. She paused. Yes. But not everyone. 2 days later, the tide shifted. The first headline came quietly. No fanfare. No fireworks. Just 5 words on a local legal blog. False allegation. A pattern emerges. Then came the second. And the third. James came forward publicly. He gave his name. His face. He spoke on camera with the same careful stillness I'd felt in his voice. And when they asked why he never pressed charges against her, he said, Because no one would have believed me. The internet turned slowly. Not all at once. Some still called it victim blaming. Some called James bitter. A few said we were collaborating to destroy a woman for speaking out. But others started asking questions. And questions are the death of certainty. Andrea sent the new evidence package to the civil court. Depositions. Contradictions. The Glendale footage. James's testimony. The metadata from Lilia's own photo, timestamped after her alleged assault claim. And then, she sent one final thing. A subpoena request. For the journalist. Because in the interview, Lilia had mentioned dates. Details. Details that directly conflicted with her original statement to the police. Under oath, she'd said she cut off all contact after the incident. On camera, she said. He kept texting me. Begging. Sometimes I'd reply just to make him stop. Except I never texted her once after her claim. Andrea had printed the logs. It was a lie. And this one, finally, was provable. The court date was set. And for the first time in months, I started breathing with both lungs again. But victory doesn't feel like sunlight. It feels like ash. By the time the interview had circulated, I had been permanently terminated from my job. My social circles were fractured. Some believed me. Some didn't know what to believe. Others disappeared entirely. The truth was still the truth. But it came too late to save the man I was before all this started. And that's the part no one warns you about. When you're vindicated, it doesn't come with applause. No one gives your life back. They just stop looking at you like you're poison. That week, Andrea called with news. She dropped the civil suit, she said. I blinked. She what? Filed a motion to dismiss with prejudice. That means she can't refile. Why? She's cornered, Andrea said. Too many contradictions. Too many witnesses. She's hoping if she lets go of this, the defamation claim will die with it. And the criminal case? Andrea's voice lowered. The DA's office reopened her previous case. The one with James. They're considering charges. I stared out the window. Do they ever press charges? I asked. Andrea sighed. Rarely. False reporting is hard to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. And politically, it's sensitive. So that's how it ends, I thought. She walks away. No jail. No fine. No public reckoning. Just another name change. Another neighborhood. Another man she'll disarm with a smile. And me? I was left with the silence. The kind that doesn't comfort. The kind that echoes. But somewhere in that silence, something had survived. Not pride. Not hope. Something simpler. Truth. And truth, once spoken, never fully dies. Not even when the world tries to bury it beneath applause. I saw her one last time. By accident. It was late September. Warm dusk bleeding into evening. I was coming out of a bookstore, something small, tucked between a florist and a wine shop. I'd started going there on quiet days, browsing paperbacks I never bought. And there she was. Across the street. Hair longer. Different color. No makeup. A denim jacket. She was laughing at something someone said, a man I didn't recognize. He held the leash of a small dog. They looked like any couple, on any street, in any city. She looked lighter. Like none of it had ever happened. I stood there for a long time. Watched her move. Watched how easily she slipped into a new life, like changing outfits. She never turned. Never saw me. And for the first time since everything began, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel anything. No hatred. No justice. Just vacancy. A door quietly closing in a room I no longer lived in. I went home. Packed away the last things that reminded me of her, the digital remnants. Old messages. Voicemails. I deleted them. Not out of forgiveness. But because they no longer held power. They were fossils now. Proof of something extinct. Andrea called a few weeks later. Said the defamation claim had stalled, quietly. No judge wanted the optics. No one wanted headlines. Everyone wanted to pretend it was over. So I let it die. I could have kept fighting. But I was done bleeding for truth in a courtroom that rewarded performance. The truth was still mine. And that was enough. James and I still talk. Not often. But sometimes. Like war veterans who don't have to explain the scars. He's dating again. I'm not. I don't know if I ever will. But I don't feel broken anymore. Just changed. I've learned to live with silence. But not the kind she left me with. The better kind. The kind where no one's lying. No one's watching. No one's scripting your downfall with honeyed words and courtroom tears. The kind where you can breathe. I've started volunteering, once a week, with a group that helps men who faced false allegations. Not to prove anything. Not to rage. Just to listen. Most of them don't want revenge. They just want to be heard. Sometimes, that's the only justice left. Sometimes, that's enough. One of them asked me recently. Do you think she'll ever feel guilty? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't know. But because it didn't matter. Guilt is just a costume when the performance is over. Truth doesn't need her guilt. It just needed to survive her. And it did.